Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with.
Ted?
And today we're going to build the Master of Shadows.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So Richard had messaged us over on Facebook, and he's doing a character build for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and he already knows he wants to play a monk rogue with the archetypes of assassin and Way of the Shadow.
Now this is a really cool build, and you can really build it out many different ways. Um, but the major downside is both these classes, if you take it all the way up, you get some fantastic abilities, or even most of the way up. You have to figure out what is going to actually work for you.
A lot of the character classes in the PHP had things I would like to bitch about, but the monk and the rogue really aren't any of those classes. So
Well,
it makes it really hard.
I'll say that with one stipulation, the assassin disguise thing at was it ninth level. I'm really not super thrilled about.
Well, everything has at least one ribbon ability. And I feel like, depending on what kind of assassin you're playing, disguise is part of it. But sure, but the other stuff they get is so good, like it's hard to complain about that.
That's true. I mean, I don't think I've made a rogue that wasn't an assassin. So
So when we look at the class breakdown, because that's what we have to work with so far before we go and put our input. So we came up with three options. One is kind of the even-ish split, and then the other one is a dip into one class or the other.
right. So if we go with the evenish split, you go 12 levels of rogue, you go 8 levels of monk. This is actually going to maximize how many feats slash stat bumps you're going to have access to. And this build actually is going to tie with a fighter. It's going to get you 6. So that's pretty incredible in and of itself. You're going to get some serious sneak damage in. You're going to get a lot of your sneaky monk stuff from Way of the Shadow. So really good mix. That's would be my preferred method to actually fully encompass this character build.
Right, and if you're heavily vested, and it seems like this person is heavily invested in the idea of using that shadow walk, because they actually said I want my character to be like Nightcrawler or Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that the even mix is the way to go. But honorable mention is 17th levels of assassin gives you like all your abilities.
No. It gives you Death Strike. You hit somebody using that ability, and they gotta make a con save. Which, if you're this level rogue, there's no reason why you haven't maxed out your dex by now. So that's gonna be pretty hard to bring down. And if they fail that save, you double the damage. You've just snuck attack, maybe even crit.
No, you did crit because you're an assassin.
Right.
That's why you want Deathstrike, yeah. And the thing about Deathstrike too, it says you double the damage. You know what that means? Oh, they're wearing an adamantium breastplate, which makes you immune to crits. You still take double damage.
It does not become a crit, which means it's doubling your crit damage if you did actually crit.
Yeah, it's going to rain dice, for the love of God. So the other way is
to actually do 17 of monk and 3 of rogue. You just get that little bit of rogue. You're all about the wah.
Yeah, I feel like all three of them are really good. You're going to benefit from all of them. You're going to make a decent character. But for what this person's looking for, what Richard's looking for, I think we're going to go middle of the road. The 12-8 split is probably going to give him the best of everything.
All right, now we do have to, we've got classes nailed down, but we still have to figure out race. We still have to figure out background.
All right, so we have Kenku.
Kenku, right off the bat, that's my favorite. They get the dex, they get the wisdom, and with this particular oddity, I think they're going to really excel because you could not only be able to use the Fafa slay you, as an old friend of ours would usually say, but you could manipulate your shadow abilities to be like, well, I also collect information and can literally parrot it back in their own voice.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fun things with there. From the player's handbook, you have Wood Elf, which optimal stats are there.
You get the increased movement.
The increased movement. If you're in natural surroundings, you can hide, without any problems. So you definitely get some good stuff there. And then if you go into the Sword Coast Adventure Guide, we can grab Ghostwise Halfling. Telepathy, kind of cool, kind of creepy, and you're gonna get wisdom and dex. And while you're a halfling, and you know what, go fuck you, number one on the D20. So all of them are great choices.
But we can't ignore human because humans are good at everything because of the way you can get that split of, okay, well, I can say, all right, I'm gonna go and put I'm gonna get 16s in both of my stats because I'm gonna get the +1 to both. I'll bump my 15 to a 16. I'll put my 14 and get a +1, and then I can go grab a feat that's gonna give me a bump. And we have a couple options.
What are they?
So you can get resilient, which is going to give you that saving throw that you might not have. Neither rogue nor monk gets access to the wisdom proficiency, and unless you're taking monk all the way up to 17, you're not going to get that diamond body, which is going to get you all your proficiencies anyway. So it's going to be useful. You get to start off with 2 16s. Other option is you can go with observant. This is totally going to work well with that Kenku style. I mean, I know we're being a human here, but you're going to be able to read lips while you're in the shadows and seeing what's going on. That will also get you your wisdom.
Well, you get to read lips all the time, not just when you're in the shadows.
Well, right, but no one knows that you're there. You're doing
right.
the sneaky thing to steal that information. And you don't need to hear them, you just need to see them talking. Or you could wind up going with athlete, put your 15 in wisdom, and put your 14 in dex, put the +1 in both. Athlete will get you the other +1 in dex, giving you both the 16s. You get to be able to stand up for only 5 feet of movement if somebody actually manages to knock you down. And you'll be able to do all kinds of crazy jumps with just a little bit of movement.
And your climb speed is doubled.
Oh, well, it's essentially, yeah, it's not hindered by, climbing speed is not hindered, yeah.
Right. Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out too about the observant that you said, eventually you can cast silence as actually right away I believe you can cast silence as a way of the shadow monk. So if you're cloaked in silence, because you don't want to have to make that stealth check, the reading lips becomes even more important because you can't hear anyway.
Right.
But it doesn't matter to you.
Right.
So human is very viable for any of those feats. Any of those feats are going to be super helpful. They're going to make your character a little bit different. They all work. But like you said, you kind of like the Kenko, and I kind of have some ideas for that one as well. So, what do you think are the backgrounds that are going to work with this one?
Well, it's going to really depend upon where you're going as far as race-wise. If we're leaning towards the human, I kind of want to go with urchin. Because it seems like, all right, this guy's got a grudge, and growing up with nothing, kind of leads towards that. If I'm gonna go with the Kenku, I want to go old school. I want to go criminal.
Okay, so now I see this character as actually being a better NPC than PC, personally, with this mix. I kind of want to throw performer in there.
For the Kenku or for them both?
Any of them, really, dude. I'm actually thinking old school Dark Sun Bard.
Okay.
This character has a little bit of feel. I feel like they use being a performer to infiltrate into high society, the courts of nobility, or even to be at the right place at the right time, the right tavern or inn, performing. But then they're sneaking off after the performance or between performances to do the deed.
I'm digging that. I think that you gave a hard sell and I bought.
And that one will work no matter what race you're playing.
That's true.
Kenku, performer, but he plays himself off as a fool, more like a jester.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's always overlooked. People don't take him serious.
And he's that oddball. And why would he do anything that would make himself stand out? Well, when you stand out in the crowd, people notice you, so that when you are not standing out in the crowd.
So that's kind of my idea. And there's still other ways you could go with this. There's so much. Hopefully that's helpful to you, Richard. The question is, guys, how would you build this character in your game? How would you play it? Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.